shadow of the weary heart. Truth cuts the dark like a flaming dart. Voices rising strong to lift the call. This is the time we give it all.
Welcome to the Patriots Prayer Network. I'm Lynn Scott Hagerman, where faith meets truth, fear has no place, and courage anchored in Christ leads the conversation. I'm so glad you're here. I'm a survivor of child trafficking and medical experimentation that occurred underground at a U.S.-based university medical center tied to declassified government MK-Ultra programs. I am the voice they tried to silence, and I am silent no more. Praise God. Today, I stand as an international award-winning human resource consultant, published author, marathoner, and weightlifter, living proof that restoration is possible in mind, body, and spirit. My calling is clear and unwavering. I'm to expose the darkness, elevate survivors and whistleblowers, reveal the truth, restore lives, and protect our little children. This broadcast airs Tuesday through Friday and Sundays across all Patriots Prayer Network broadcast platforms at 2 o'clock Central Time. Please be sure to visit qgrit.org and sign up for my newsletter. qgrit.org is God's aftercare plan for the little ones once they're rescued from above ground and below ground trafficking, as well as to help adults with any type of trauma. And please be sure to visit liveyoungerwithlynn.com, or an independent LifeWave distributor. LifeWave won Stem Cell Innovator of the Year award. It is time to get healthy and stay healthy, because we have work to do for such a time as this. And I want to thank you for supporting my ministry by your purchases. Now let's continue bringing everything into the light and presence of God. Today I have Michael Jaco back on the show. Michael is a retired veteran with over 24 years in Naval Special Warfare and more than 2 years in Naval Diving and Salvage. He also spent over 11 years as a contract and a direct contract security operative, supporting U.S. State Department and CIA operations in combat zones and other high-risk environments. Altogether, he's dedicated 35 years serving the United States government in some of the world's most dangerous assignments. In addition to his military and intelligence background, Michael and his wife, Tracy Jo, are very good friends, and they've been important mentors and leaders to me within the LifeWave community. It's so good to have you, Michael.
Good to be back, Lynn. Thanks for having me back on.
Well, you are welcome. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha. Yes, sweetest. So I'm going to put a picture up before we get started. This is vacation in Hawaii. We all went. Tracy Jo was there with us, all of our LifeWave family. And I think it's amazing the opportunities that LifeWave presents to us in order to be together and just enjoy the community as well as business. I mean, we do it all. It was fun.
It really was. And, our team is growing. You're growing in your business. You're obviously sharing with a lot of people.
Yep.
And LifeWave, I think, is God's gift to humanity. So I think, we're all working together to, help people make it through these difficult times.
Yes, I agree. And one thing that we were talking about when we were in Hawaii is I'm hearing so many people. One thing I wanted to talk about today was the people who were kind of waiting for things to happen and putting their life on hold. We talked about that. And, I talked about sharing today. I've had people, we've heard for years about the med beds. I've had so many people put their life and their health on hold, hearing it's coming out this week, it's coming out this month, and then they pass away waiting. People are waiting. And with the EBS signals too, they're not traveling. They have fears of traveling and just putting their lives on hold. Whenever the Lord gave me a dream maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the EBS had gone off. And in that moment, the whole world went silent. And he told me, he said, tell everybody you'll be safe, you'll be okay, you'll be exactly where you're supposed to be. I would love to encourage people and have your opinion on what people should be doing during this time as they wait for the EBS, as they wait for the med beds we've heard about.
Yeah, I'd say, live your life, and if there's something out there that you believe, and you have to use your own best, inner voice, inner guidance, your intuition, your connection to God source, then whatever you're directed to, utilizing, we promote the life wave, and we believe very strongly that can help humanity.
Yes.
But you have to trust your own inner voices for that. And if you get a strong signal moving in that direction, I would say, yeah, go with that. So don't wait for the med beds. Like you said, we had a great conversation about that. I'm glad you brought that up. And the same thing with travel, EBS. EBS has been, I remember David Wilcock was talking about EBS I think 15 years ago. Several days of darkness, and it just hasn't come about yet. NESARA. We've talked about that for a decade or more, and it hasn't come about yet. So live your life. Don't live in fear. You're in fear. You basically, you don't have connection to God's source. So stay very positive. Stay loving. Love your neighbors. Love your family, and love your country, wherever that country might be. Some countries need a lot of love, but ours, I think, is doing really well right now. So we're kind of like the model for the rest of the world, even though, we have all this, all these negative, once were great influencers are starting to turn on a lot of us and President Trump. So that's one of the things, I've been talking about with other people. I was on David Nino Rodriguez's show. I think he released it today, but we talk very, very distinctly about, many of those influencers out there, Tucker Carlson, and many others that are very, very suspect now. I don't think suspect anymore. I think they're proving themselves to be against us and with the dark side. So we have to be very vigilant. Don't get trapped in these negative groups and negative people that are trying to pull us in different directions. And I think we're going to do really well going forward. But there is probably 6 to 9 months going forward. I've talked to a lot of people about that, where things are going to get, difficult for many that aren't, enlightened and, have that good God focus. But those that do, we're just going to watch, observe, learn from it, and keep going, keep rolling. Roll with the change.
What do you think? That's a song. We should break out in song.
Right.
Matter of fact, I have had songs in my head ever since I left Hawaii. People talk about what a spiritual island that is. Mm-hmm. I have these nonstop kind of Hawaiian soothing music playing. Are you experiencing anything like that?
I always get songs in my head.
Okay.
It's nothing but the ukulele, and I did, because there was a negative focus, and still is a negative focus on the islands. At one time, the Hawaiians were cannibals, and they killed each other off like crazy. And then, Christianity showed up and said, "You guys got to stop this," and they did. So, energies can go either direction. They can be captured to go negative, and we don't capture. We just come in and softly, soothingly, move the vibrational frequencies into a positive direction. And I think that's what we're doing around our country and around the world. And those places that have very, very high vibrational frequencies, like the Hawaiian Islands, I think we're bringing them gradually and more aggressively towards a more soothing, vibrational frequency. Even though the dark side, as we saw in Maui, came in and did directed energy weapons and destroyed Maui. Or at least, part of it, who knows what they're going to destroy next, or if they're going to be able to. I think they're being stopped out in a lot of different ways, but we're probably getting to a point where it's going to get really, really severe. And that might be where the EBS comes in.
So I was going to say, before I got distracted by the beautiful music, which is playing in my head right now, the this next 6 to 9 months, what do you see? Because I know recently you and Tracy Joe, I believe, were in Vegas or with Juan 107 somewhere, a bunch of truthers. And I wasn't sure if you had insight you were able to share, or just in general, because you have such a strong military background, not to mention the intuitive side of you. What can we expect, do you think, in the next 6 to 9 months?
I think that we're gonna grow tighter together as a country. I think a lot of people are seeing that, both sides of the equation, Democrats, Republicans, whoever you want to side with, we're getting to the point where seeing both sides are against us. They're not for us. So we have to work together to overcome, that extreme dominance, because they're not out to protect and preserve us. They're out to protect and preserve themselves. And they're against us, trying to manipulate, control us in all kind of different ways. So I think where a lot of people are waking up to that, and we're combining our forces, if you will, because military speak is, I think that way. Yeah. But I think we're combining our energies, and energy frequency is really the thing that's going to make the difference. Now, do I see violence and so forth? I don't think it's going to get out of hand, but they're going to try and stir stuff up. They've already been trying to stir stuff up for the last several years, and it's getting less and less effective as we move along. And I think most of that is because of the awakening process that's happening with humanity.
I hear what you're saying, and I have been talking. We talked the last show, and I'm still seeing it for the past, I want to say, 5-6 weeks. I see less population when I go about my daily activities. There are just simply less people there. And I cannot explain this in the physical, because I have been watching. I know sometimes I thought, is it from different medical things happening or whatever? But I've been watching the obituaries. I can't explain it that much in the physical. And it's almost like, and when it comes to service in stores, I don't see a drop, as if a ton of people are gone and we're not having services provided. So that's one thing I think is interesting. The other thing is I'm seeing a significant increase in large planes in my area flying low, which makes me wonder, are people being picked up? I don't know. And I'm seeing an increase in embedded military. I was sharing that in Hawaii. Whenever I'm out, because of my childhood, I have 44 times the visual and auditory acuity of others. And Kathy O'Brien, our friend, has shared that Mark Phillips had, taught her that. She taught all of us that. It's true. And when I'm out running, I know someone from the Midwest, and the men, for the most part, aren't athletic or buff. If they go to the gym and they are buff, they can't run because they're so muscular. I am seeing men who run with dogs. In the Midwest, dogs walk their owners. I am seeing now these men who are super athletic, and they walk their dogs. Matter of fact, their dogs are big, kind of ferocious looking, on leashes, very well trained. It's a whole different, these are embedded military throughout my community, and I see more than before. And so it just makes me wonder.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you women folk are onto something, because Tracy is contractor.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that's kind of the look I'm used to. But and I think they are embedding, and in a lot of different high end areas. And I believe they're going to make sure that some areas are kept sacrosanct, where they're not going to be invaded and taken down for different reasons. Could be frequency, could be the people that live in those locations and so forth. Where I'm at, Larry Ellison lives, and they obviously don't want him to be taken down. I think he's in China with President Trump right now, trying to promote our technological base is very, very strong, and China's trying to catch us and pass us, and we're like, no, you don't need to catch us and pass us. We'll just work together and do good trade, and we don't need to do that. I guess China is going to buy 200, and as Trump says, big Boeing jets.
Wow.
So that's the way the world should be, where we all just get along and We're all prosperous. There's no reason for war or, controlling and manipulating people for your own personal gain. We know there's a very sliver of society that does that, has been doing that for a very, very long time. But we're getting to the point where that's collapsing thanks to President Trump and team. And we can talk deeper about that. But, there's definitely some areas that have the contractor, if you will. I was one of those guys for a very long time, like you mentioned in the beginning, in the CIA.
Yeah.
And also, I see, like you, a lot less people. And there's a huge reason for that because of the last lockdown. And then the way they said to remedy that was to, get those, things in the arm. And a lot of people did that. 70% of Americans got at least one shot. And then, I don't know what the second shot numbers are. And there's some people still getting them. So the numbers are decreasing because of that. That's been hidden. We're looking at getting a nurse on that was 30-year background. And she's talking about how all of the hospitals all over the country were basically given instructions. And those instructions, when people came in the hospital, they were murdering people throughout all the hospitals across the country. And she's going to come. Hopefully, she comes on and talks about that. She says she wants to reveal, and boy, did she reveal on a show that I saw her on. So she's an insider. She said that in the hospital that she was in, over 18 months that she was in ICU, and it wasn't just COVID patients that were in there. There are other people in there, but the COVID patients, of the 200 plus that she remembers coming in during the 18-month process, only 2 survived. And that's indicative across the country. This has been hidden quite substantially. So they were murdering people in these hospitals. I don't know what that means going forward as far as like who's going to be held accountable, but no one has been at this point. So that means if there's another one of these plandemics, which I think we're getting ready to have one, then that murder cycle is going to be even more intense.
So let's talk about the plandemic, then, the potential plandemic. I know you've been doing some shows on this back in the day with the prior event that we all survived. Those of us who did, you warned people for a long time.
Yeah.
And then when it hit, you tried to help people for a long time. And during that time, I was still healing in what I call social isolation. But the Lord spoke to me and he was telling me what was going on. And I said, what can I do? And he said, I heard the audible voice of God. He said, save as many as you can. Well, I didn't have a platform then. I do now. And because you helped boost me up, that gives me a bigger platform. And with the Patriots Prayer Network and others that are our friends. So I want to get, start helping get the message out. What are you sharing with people? What are you suggesting people do? Tell me, let's talk that part.
Yeah, so we can see, through their plans, they make these little, and it's like a sacrifice. They love their sacrifice and for their sacrifice, and so they're already they've been working this for quite a while. If you look at the Economist magazine, on the front cover, you can go look at that. I think it was January issue. It was a blue and white ship. And they had all these different things in there. They had somebody pulling their white rabbit out of the hat. That's one of their symbols. And, we look at, Hugh Hefner and, the rabbits. It's just one of the symbols. And the Matrix, Follow the White Rabbit, all these different things, they're constantly giving us little clues of who they're about. And it's not just for us, but it's also for them because they have all these plans. So when you start to see little things like that, because I'm used to this, having been in top secret organizations, in SEAL teams at the highest levels, and then, of course, in the CIA at the highest levels, there's messages that are discreetly put out there, and only people that have the knowledge of what they're waiting on. So, for instance, at the Met Gala, you had Madonna show up with 6 women that were on with these like ropes or whatever that were coming off her gown.
Yeah.
They were blindfolded. And then on her head was this huge ship, like a sailing ship. And she's all in black. So like black when you go to a funeral.
Yeah.
So they're telegraphing. So that's one of the signals they send each other. It's now. So you see it in The Economist, the economy, and you see it with Madonna, the music industry, performers and all that kind of stuff. So their messaging, they're going to start their messaging now, and that those messaging, whatever they were given, this will be your message when the time comes. We're going to start to see that soon. So it's all part of their plan. They have long-term plans. They have these things that go back. You can go all the way back to the movie. There's a movie that came out. I can't remember the name right now, but it came out in 1995. It was planned some kind of, one of those Plandemic type things where lots of people die. And in there, they mention the hantavirus. And you're concerned about this other, and it was another virus that came out, and it wasn't the one that we're concerned about now or should be focused on. Concern should be part of your vocabulary. You're just being observant now. So that's what I'm trying to teach people. Be observant of their plans and their messaging, and then you can see, okay, we're going to come to a point where they're going to go, it mutated. Oh my God, it mutated, just like COVID, It mutated, and it's person to person now from the bats, So, and this will be from the rat. And so they have to, and this is all also part of their messaging, their very dark side. They're all into feces and all that kind of stuff. So the feces of the rat is, the thing that gets airborne, and people breathe it, and then they get sick with hantavirus. And now it's the one that happened in South America, in Argentina, at a bird watching facility. And in that bird watching facility, they got the most deadliest one, supposedly, which is person to person. So all these people are starting to die, and they were traveling before they were isolated, before everybody knew what was going on. So the people are out spreading it. That's probably going to be the story at some point, because this is the way they do it. Now, I called out the COVID because I was watching this for several weeks, and then I got, like you talk about, the message from God. You're going to hear this. You're going to start talking about this. And I was like, all right, yes, sir.
Yes,
all right, so I went and started sharing.
Safe. Yeah, it does. That's how he does.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's exactly how it sounds.
So I went out, and every day I'm revealing, and I said, it's the Chinese New Year. They're gonna start to travel, and there was places that I said were being infected on purpose, and they're going to blame it eventually on this this Wuhan laboratory. But at first the press was like, no, that's it. You're wrong if you're saying that, and you're going to get canceled on your shows if you say that. So I'd say it and then delete those shows real quick. I'd come out.
Oh.
We're doing right now, and I would talk about this stuff and then I'd delete. And one time they got wise to me. One time while I'm revealing, they deleted my show while I'm talking. So we were trying the best to share, and I remember saying, we cannot let the Chinese come to America. And President Trump came out and said, can't cancel the Chinese. Nobody coming from China can come to America. And the Democrats were like, "Oh, you're such an evil person." I was like, "Because they're all in on it,
Yep.
So that's our that's our tattletale. Who's supporting this, and watch who supports this, and who pushes the agenda. They're the evil ones, and they should be held accountable, and sooner the better, because they're going to continue to do this until the point where we start to hold people accountable, and that's just the way things are. So all these different things. So the bird watching. So when this was released, Ted Turner died on the day it was released, and Ted Turner was on the Audubon Society, many years ago, and he said, "Yeah, humanity, we're so overpopulated, we should be down to 200 million." Kind of like the Georgia Guidestones. I think God,
Yeah.
Georgia Guidestone.
I love that side of God.
So I there's lots of different things that are moving in that direction. They still have a lot of control and power, but we have to isolate them by exposing them. So someone comes out and talks about it. It's like, oh, look, Ted Turner, said this all the way back then, and look what they're doing. Bird watching, come on, wake up. The Economist magazine, they were basically telegraphing this same looking ship as the one that was, carrying the hantavirus out there. So all these different things are coming out. Madonna with her ship hat on and all in black. So because there's going to be funerals everywhere. It's part of their thing. It's very dark. It's mysterious only to those people that aren't informed. So we're helping to inform people about this. And as you wake up to this, you're not scared because you're like, oh, they're doing their silliness again, and we're onto you. You're not going to have the effect that you did last time. That's even right. Though this is supposed to be even deadlier, and probably will be, unfortunately. That's going to scare a lot of people. And once those people get scared, other people get scared because everybody's getting scared. I'm going to get scared too because they're all sheep. We saw that in the last Plandemic. The sheep just basically got in line and started putting their mask on 6 feet away and, line up for your shots. And it's like, wow. It's like, it was all the stuff we were warning about. It's not real. You can, prevent getting sick by doing hydroxychloroquine and vitamin D3, zinc, and all these different things that we're like, it doesn't have to be a problem. If you do get it, if you're using these things, you're going to get over it very quickly. And so they started stopping that out. They started stopping people talking about, hydroxychloroquine. I said you can make your own. I did shows where you can make your own. They got hundreds of thousands of views all over the world on my Facebook channel, and they took that video away and they restricted me on Facebook. I was surprised they didn't cancel my channel like they did with YouTube, but for whatever reason they didn't. They canceled me on X, or what used to be Twitter. Another little bird. All right. So and the mockingbird, that's what Twitter used to be, and now we're basically in a system and that's growing and expanding where we have free speech again, and we can push back on this, whereas before they were canceling us out. And I can tell you that on my channel, I've seen my numbers get crushed. And someone was telling me yesterday, they're like restricting your shows. They're like, good for a day or two, and then they're like, whoop, gone. Don't even show them anymore on the regular, when you search and stuff. So it's starting again. So when you see all these different things, like I'm pointing out, it should be very clear to everybody. They're getting ready to launch on us again.
I love everything that you're saying. As you were talking, the fact that it's knowledge that overcomes this, knowledge and facts. And with so for example, when we go back in time with COVID, you were sharing how long this has been planned too. When the Epstein files were released, there was documentation that in August of 2015, Bill Gates and Epstein created a bond fund with the London Bank. In case there's a coronavirus pandemic, it'll pay out. August of 2012 in the Epstein files. That's how far back that I can find that this was planned, way far back. So knowledge is power, and knowledge is what stomps out the fear. And whenever we realize this is very planned, it goes back a long ways, there's a lot of financial things attributed to it, then that helps us understand the whys and the what's happening. From a spiritual standpoint, in my lane, the demonic, the evil, they feed off fear.
Yeah.
And whenever we release fear, I've seen them, they get super fat. It's like feeding evil. They get bigger and bigger and more powerful. And I believe that that's how we, lost, in air quotes, the battle over COVID, because people gave into fear and grew that monster huge, as opposed to saying, no, we're not going to do that, using the weapons we've been given. You and I have talked about armor physically that we put on for safety, the power of prayer. There are all kinds of things that we can do for protection, and things in the physical that make common sense. In my world, whatever they're saying not to do is what you do. That to me is kind of like a simple, don't get sunshine, go get sunshine. Don't take hydroxy, it's pretty straight up. And they think they're so smart, but they're actually not. But I love this pre-knowledge and thinking how far back this has to be planned so people can kick in those analytical skills and be like, you know what? That was planned beginning in August of 2015 with a bond in case there's a coronavirus pandemic. We're going to make money. I mean, that is how far back. So who knows? Maybe this planning started the same year for all we know.
Yeah, and they had like, that's excellent. That's amazing that you found. I never heard that before.
Yes.
Maybe I have, but I don't remember it. And that's part of the process of learning to tap into truth and wisdom. There's knowledge, and then we can get a lot of knowledge like we got in school, which was a lot of it BS.
Right.
But wisdom is the difference between taking that knowledge and learning that what's truth and what's not truth. And so we get a lot of not truth shoved in our faces through the media, which is in lockstep with the evil side. And I think a lot of us have seen that. And then we have people like us that come out and inform people on the other side of media, because the media can't be trusted anymore.
That's right.
And then we have people that were leaving that media, like Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and some other people that we embraced. Oh, you're coming to our side now. You're going to be like us, revealing the truths. And then we see that basically they were paid to come in to infiltrate, and then at the right moment, drop bombs, try to destroy us. So they haven't. And a lot of people have awakened to that process, and it's not effective. So the same thing is going to happen with this next plandemic, I believe. People are going to start to see the patterning. They're going to start to do the critical thinking like you did, look back. They're going to do the critical thinking, like what will work for me, like during, still during COVID, after everybody unfortunately got the shot. A lot of people were suffering from that and passing away. So David Schmidt came out on my show and revealed, and that was a huge reveal, because he was like, I'm not going to reveal that. And then he came out. I guess God spoke to him, and it's like he revealed the show, and that went around the world. And then so many people got on the life wave then, and had been already, of course. But it does make a difference if you're like, who is that one doctor? Unfortunately, he passed away. They probably took him out.
Zelensky? No, that's no. I know.
That's what I wanted to say, but
yeah. I know who you're talking about.
That one, he had the zinc in it.
Tell us in chat.
Something zinc. Yeah, somebody throw it in the chat. We got a great chat.
We have a great chat going. So someone will tell us. It starts with
God, 14 military. Good job. So we'll overcome the Zelenko. Thanks. Yeah, Zelenko, Dr. Zelenko.
Okay.
So very sad. I was going to have him on my show.
Really?
Yeah, he passed away, and it was and I was like, God, I believe they took him out.
Yeah.
Because he was really destroying their narrative.
Yes, he was.
What a great soul. I think he gave his life to, try and awaken as many as possible. And there's still video of him. So now that we're moving into this, I believe this next phase of Plandemic, we're starting to see videos from him where he said, take zinc, take D3, vitamin C, and so forth. His Zelenko pack, and they still sell that. It's fantastic, and they sell it to people as preventative in case something else like that happens. And I think we're going to figure out what's going to work against whatever they have designed for us in this next one. So I predicted within a month or two after it was very obvious that we were being bioweapon attacked, that we're going to get one far worse in the future. And I think we're at that doorstep again. So we have to be, again, not fearful, just aware, do the preventative action that's necessary to keep us healthy going forward, and be prepared to, roll with the changes, because they're gonna come in fast and heavy now.
I always like to give people hope and solutions, and you've been talking about the doctor. I've had Dr. Stella Emanuel on, one of the frontline doctors. She has a product line. I've had Dr. Peter McCullough. I've not had him on, but I've had one of his employees. They have a protocol line. You mentioned LifeWave. That's exactly how I got into LifeWave, Michael, because I was lifting. The Lord told me a year prior to listen to you. I never heard you before. And I was lifting weights in the garage, and God said, drop everything and listen to the show. And that's a show you were just talking about where you had David Schmidt, the inventor, on. And he said, and I'm just quoting him from your show, that if people use the X39, it will protect them from shedding and vax shedding, and also turnaround damage from the vax. And the rest is history. I started the product, and astounding things. So we have several things, and the patch is so simple. And our water machine, a glass a day, simple. No drugs, no chemicals, light, frequency, and I feel amazing.
That's a very, very, very important thing. Frequency.
Yes.
Moving into 6G, when we moved into 5G, we had COVID. And if you look back at every one of the Gs, when they were released, we would have some kind of ailment. If you go back into, what was that? Spanish flu.
Yeah.
Spanish flu, that's when we started having the radios come out. So all these different frequencies will cause certain things, and their bioweapon of choice is geared to those frequencies, making them happen, on a higher level, higher scale. So we're moving into 6G, and 6G will bring in another, bioweapon. that's what we're looking at with the hantavirus, potentially. But if we can raise our frequency, keep our frequency at a certain level, which is what I believe the water machine, and you mentioned all these different things. Again, use your own discernment.
Yes.
What can work for you. It could be something that you do that gets you to a certain level, and then you go to something else. It takes you another level, and again. That's what I've noticed over the last 6 years. I keep going to the next level. It's like they're almost getting to the point where they're learning that we're, raising our frequencies so that we're not affected by it anymore. So they have to come out with another frequency killing machine.
Yes.
That will come at us, and that's where we are. So great. I that kind of interrupted you and had a long spiel there, but frequency is very important. Yeah.
Very important. Well, we were talking in Hawaii. I was telling you the story when I was just starting to educate my followers. So I've been doing a daily show. Today is day 30 on, I call it Genesis Water, or X2O light infused water machine. And I'm up to like 77 wins. Gracie the cat, who's taking a lounging nap right now because of her Genesis Water, she's up to like 22 wins. But when the very first time I tried to get the message out, I was just putting together a show about this, and through my laptop, I out of the blue, I had one of those CAPTCHA things where it's, you're not a robot thing pop up. And I was telling you about this in Hawaii. It was a strange place for it to pop up, and I knew that it didn't belong there. And while I was staring at it, curious, bam, some frequency came out, and it took out my mind right there, took it out. And I was telling you how I could not think. And it was a frequency attack. I could not think. And however, I could remember to pray. I couldn't think of anything else but the most important thing, which is to pray. And I prayed, and I was fine. And part of this is protection too, because every morning, part of my prayers are protect my mind. I specifically pray that. So I believe when that frequency attack came between, the frequency shields that I wear with our patch technology, our water, our prayers, the spiritual levels that you attain, it is like a force that protects you from these things, because just like we can't see it coming at us, I mean, they use this as weapons, but we can overcome it.
Beautiful. And yes, we can, and we will, just like we did the last one. There's many of us that survived that, but there are many that didn't, and they're still And that woman that I was talking about, the nurse,
Yeah.
they're still using the same protocol. Someone comes in with COVID, so they put them on the ventilator, put them on remdesivir, and that kills them.
Yeah.
So they're still doing it. We have to call this out and become aware. We made a pact that we would never go to the hospital unless we got a broken bone or something like that. They're still good at that, and I give them credits for that. They put my knee back together when I was shattering the SEAL teams, and it's incredible. But there was somebody in the chat that said, "Do you think blue states will lock down, shut down?" Thanks for that, Charles. So, what did we see from the past? We saw in California, where I was, Gavin Newsom locked down the healthiest state in the country longer than any other state. So yes, you look at New York, you look at Illinois, and Michigan. All those people, are big. They're big blue controlled states. So yeah, they're in those positions for a purpose, guys. And they will probably push this one just like they did the last one. And it's going to be devastating because people haven't learned how to push back on it. And fortunately, in New York, they were going to do concentration camps for people that didn't get the vaccination. And we learned that, and we started putting that out. So they said, "Oh, no, we don't have enough people that are in our Congress or whatever that are going to support this. We're going to stop." And then they slowly waited, and then they tried to backdoor it, and we caught them backdooring it, and we put it out again. So, and they got shut down again. So we're going to have to be very vigilant, because these are, again, I'll say it, these are not people that are in positions of power for us. They're for them, all right? We have to understand that, and we cannot trust them. And eventually, we get more and more people to understand this and start to work with us to push back on it, then we will get pushed back. We will push them back, and we will stop them out. But until that time, in those blue states, they follow the party line very hard. They've been trained very well, MK Ultra very well, not question and follow the party line. I think a lot more people are questioning now. But still, somebody else in the chat put in they've lost 11 family members to dot. So I see that all the time now. When I do shows, and I'll start talking about it, and then the chat fills up with how many people in families that have lost people. Now, when I first started putting that out, I put that out before the vaccination came out. I said, "Don't do it. It's going to be bad. It's loaded." I'm hearing from people that know that they're bad batches, and they're gonna put those out there. Of course, we were fortunate when we had President Trump. He pushed it fast and hard, Operation Warp Speed, to get many good, not caustic and bad vaccinations out there as he could, so that people, I got mine, so that was good. And then he was taken out, and then the Democrats again came in, because they're fully on board with the deep state narrative and agenda. And of course, that's not to say that Republicans aren't too. It's like one party system. They're all against us for the most part. Or they'll talk remember Marjorie Taylor Greene? Everybody's like, "Oh, she's like so for us." And then we find out no. And we looked at her bank account. She had like $10 million. And it's like, "I'm out. President Trump is not any good." So that same narrative that we're hearing from Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and all these other people are questioning President Trump, and all those people that we used to look up to are now turning against us. So again, all you have to do is watch that. We know that President Trump is for us. He's of God, and he's destroying the deep state. And where's the deep state? City of London. City of London controls the financial. You follow the money. We've heard this over the years. Follow the money all the way back to City of London. City of London has controlled the world for a long time, and they're losing their control, and they're gonna push back hard to try and regain it. And that's what we're probably going to see coming up. But you have to be very vigilant, and you have to like push back on all of the stuff that's going to come. And it will come in lots of different ways than it did last time, because we learned, everybody's like, oh, and I get pushed back just like when I talked about it last time. Don't get the vaccination. 70% got the vaccination. Don't wear the mask. It's all bullshit. Everybody wore the mask. I even went out before the mask came out, and I went into grocery store, and I'm wearing my mask, and I was like, you guys are going to be doing this soon. And I got such a backlash, but nobody came in and apologized for like giving me shit. It always works. So and no one's going to apologize to me, I promise you, for coming out early again with this next round of Plandemic that's coming in. It's just the way human nature is. No one wants to admit. It's take responsibility. If you take responsibility, I'm taking responsibility for this, because I'm like, you and I are both are like, we have to inform as many people as possible. I take responsibility. And then I get pushed back on. So that hurts us getting this word out. If you don't believe it, it's like, be observant. You don't have to be negative and, crush it because you don't like it. You don't want it to happen. So you think that if you say, no, that's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. Did you say that with the last one? Yeah, probably did. Or probably didn't even know until you're deep in it. And you're like, oh, this seems stupid. Right. So, and that's what a lot of nurses and doctors did. After a while, they're like, this is stupid, but they're already trapped in it. They're trapped in that. They didn't push back early enough. And then once it's ingrained, they're getting paid and they're murdering people, and no one's saying anything about it. So no one else saying anything about it. This is what we got to do. This is the, a method that they're telling us from the top. I guess it's right. So that no one even knows where it came from. It came down all the way through, health services, and then to the hospitals, and then, the CEOs of the hospitals, and the big CEOs of the big corporate hospitals, and then down to the individual hospitals, the CEOs of those hospitals. And then they put it out to the nurses and the doctors, and then this is our protocol. This is what you're going to do. And they did it, and it's like, this doesn't seem to work. Doesn't make sense. But they kept murdering people, and they're still murdering people,
which is astounding. And there's still commercials for this too. When during the conversation, I can also feel my international human resource consulting part of me kick in, and I teach behavior, and past behavior predicts future behavior of people. So as you're talking, that's exactly what you're saying. This is what they did in the past, so we'll likely see that now. And so if people want to predict what's going to happen, just like in the blue states, for example, look at what happened before. And the other piece of this is spiritual, that the evil side, this is a battle of good versus evil. Evil is not creative, not at all. And so they just keep doing what they've done before because it's the only playbook they know. And so, for example, we can probably expect masks. We can probably expect a 6 feet. And after all this, when Fauci testified in Congress, he said, we made that up. And I'm not, I'm quoting him from Congress. Where did you come up with the mask? We made it up. Is it effective? No. Where did you come up with the 6 feet? We made it up. Was it effective? No. So likely we'll see that again. I would say very similar things because they don't have any creative power.
Yep. And this one nurse, she said they would only give them so many PPE, personal protective, devices per day. And she said that down in the basement of the hospital, they had tons of it. So they're creating this facade of, there's not enough personal protection, devices and so forth. So they had to go room to room. They'd be in a COVID room, and normally they would take off their PPE and then, put on a new set and go into another room. They weren't doing that because they didn't have enough masks, but they did. So they're basically going from an infected room to another room with people that weren't infected. So they're purposefully spreading it. And she was like, none of us understood this. And we knew that there was more down in the basement. They had tons of it down in the basement, but this was the narrative again. And so eventually she quit the narrative. And I've talked to a lot of nurses that quit the narrative. We have someone on our team, Roxanne, that quit the narrative.
Yeah.
And I've talked to on the stage in one of the events that we had. There was anesthesiologist that basically had quit the system, and Tracy and I talked to her at another event that we were at, and boy, she unloaded as well. And a lot of doctors, I won't say a lot, but there were some doctors that stood up and pushed back, but some of those unfortunately were taken out. There was one guy, I'm trying to think of his name, somebody put it in the chat. Boy, we got so much chat going on, it's kind of hard to find it again. So,
We do. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Doctor, I can't think of his name right now, but anyway, Batar, there it is. Dr. Batar basically was on CNN, and they were asking him, and he's like, it's all BS. And so I think the guy that was doing the interviewing, as far as like the vax thing,
Yeah.
I don't want to say too many words and get us in trouble, but
Yeah.
the vax thing, basically, he was saying, no, that's BS. So the guy that was interviewing him, I guess, had been. And so he's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And he died. So, and then Dr. Batar was very, very sick because they came after him with energy weapons and all kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I talked to Dr. Artis about this. So we had a conversation. He says, I was helping him. I helped turn him around because Dr. Artis was talking about how it was basically they had cobra venom in the vaccine.
Right.
And so he's talking about all that, and we're, he's sharing that. He did shows and all that. So I got to sit down and talk with him at a dinner one night at an event that we were doing together. And he told me that, I had worked with him. I got him healthy. And then they came at it from another direction, and they gave him something else, and he was gone within a week. So, and he got it from a friend of his. Yeah, a good friend, right? So they pay people off. You think you got friends? You better be very observant going forward, guys, because you'll have people that you trust and believe in, and they'll guide you astray. And we've seen that, quite a bit. Very, very frustrating, but that's the way it's going to be going forward. You will be approached. You will be a lot of people will come forward, try and help you make the right decision, but trust your heart. Trust your God intuition, and that's going to be very important going forward. Yeah, that was on CNN. Yep, Charles.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, and speaking along those lines too, with some of the time we have left, I'd like to touch on the scientists, because that's also an area currently where we're seeing a lot of harm being done.
Yeah, so they're trying to control the narrative. They've been doing this for quite some time because there are a lot of, the space, brothers and sisters that are out there, the positive ones. There are very ones that pretty much control our world right now. And they align with the Nazis during World War II. We believe that we defeated the Nazis, but we didn't. They basically they moved to another area. Oh, you blew up all the innocent people in Germany. We're gone. It doesn't matter to us. And that person that you found that kind of seemed like Hitler, well, the Russians came in and said, well, we're looking at the teeth, and the teeth don't match. All right. So the dental records, proved that was not Hitler. But, the narrative, again, the media and so forth, who wins the wars basically writes the narrative. Well, the Nazis won that war. And so now we're unfortunately, still in a lot of places under their spell, under their control. But that's being destroyed. So they went down to Antarctica. They went to Argentina. There's Bavarian villages in Argentina. And before the war. So long before the war, they're already moving in two different locations. So Operation Paperclip operation, all these different operation bases brought Nazis to the U.S. and around the world. Werner von Braun, NASA. He did the V1 and V2 rockets that almost devastated England more than the bombing campaign. So they built them in DUMBs, deep underground military bases,
Yep.
and they used slave labor to do that. A lot of them Jewish people. So we're learning about this stuff, but do people really comprehend it and know it? No, because there's so much disinformation that goes on out there. This is the history that you learn in your books, that we won World War II. No, we did not. And in fact, they came into Eisenhower's White House. Laura Eisenhower has talked about this on several shows. And they came in with all these flying saucer looking things, and they just hovered over the White House and the Capitol. And they sent down stormtroopers, and they made Congress sign a pact that they would work with the Nazis and so forth. But they did that on the background. The good ETs came in and helped us to formulate a new secret space program, and that secret space program is some stuff that I'm involved with. We talked about that. So that's where all that is. So they've been controlling all the information about free technologies, anti-gravitic vehicles and so forth, because they have that. But so do the secret space program guys. Now they being the Nazi side, the reptilian Draco side, they have that capability to a great extent, and they've been using against us. They've been using weather warfare, chemtrailing, directed energy weapons, burning our cities and so forth around the world, not just in the United States, but around the world. And I've been pointing that out for many, many years. So again, that narrative is starting to catch, because I said that, why don't we just have like some Navy SEALs board these big tankers that have been converted into making this weather and stop it out. So last year we didn't have any hurricanes after I said that. How about that? The narrative can be, as long as someone gets it out there and it spreads, it can have an effect. And that's why we, the people, have to get involved. It's very, very important. We can't wait for the White Hats to come. The White Hats are here waiting for us to get involved. So a lot of people are like, well, the White Hats, we just watch the movie and eat the popcorn. That's all we have to do. No, that is one thing, but that watching the movie, eating the popcorn is so that you get informed and then you get involved. So a lot of people are missing that point. That's what I'm bringing to everyone now. We really need to get involved. Otherwise, which I don't see happening, I do see us getting involved, but if we didn't get involved or we don't get involved, we will lose on a level that's staggering. They wanted to knock us down to 500 or 200 million people on Earth. If we don't get involved, we the people, they're going to win that. They're going to do that.
Well, and from a spiritual standpoint, we have a lot of scripture that supports that. I believe it's in the book of James, which would be Jesus' half brother. He said, faith without works is dead. So people can, armchair quarterback, but that's not what God wants. We are God's hands and feet. We're supposed to be, in the fight, and from not kinetically, spiritually, and doing our part. So when God taps people on the shoulder and asks them to do something, he does expect us to do something. And I do a lot of management training, and I'll have managers say, well, I don't like what that employee's doing. And I'll say, did you ever tell them to stop? No. Well, how do you expect them to know not to do it if you don't speak? Well, they should just know that's wrong and somebody else will fix it. And I said, no, you're the one in authority. God's given us, he has delegated authority. We have the power, dominion, and authority over these evil, demonic characters. The battle's not against flesh and blood, Ephesians 6. It's against the principalities, the spiritual in the high places. That's where we fight, and we speak up in the physical. God created the heavens and the earth with frequency by speaking, and we need to speak. And I teach managers Unfortunately, when you say nothing, both in the physical realm and the spiritual, it's a behavioral indication that says, I agree. So when people say and do nothing, they are putting out there, I agree with this evil. I agree with everything that you're doing. That's how the deep state takes it. There's no pushback. There's no pushback on the spiritual. And you're absolutely right. We need to be out there speaking and doing, because God's just not going to snap his fingers and make all this go away. He's that's not how he works through people.
Yeah, he empowers us,
Yes.
but to reach out and touch that and become that. So yeah, there's it's an interactive game now. Tracy in the chat said it's not about watching the game and playing the game. It's interactive. You have to get into the game and create what we want. And God gives us that capability when we connect with him. He guides us and helps us in a lot of different ways. Stops out, like we talked about on other shows, how I focused on demonic entities and so forth, and stopped them out. And those people that were being controlled by them are no longer with us. So that's one of the things that we have the power to do that on these other realms of consciousness. Yes. And don't depend on me to do that, because because I tried to do that with COVID. But when you have hundreds of millions of people, billions of people that are sucked into negative and fear, it's more than a guy like me can handle. So, but if there's more of us that are getting involved, we will be able to handle it this next round. So, stay aware, stay focused, trusting God helping you and your family. And for the most part, unless your family members are not connected to that or don't believe in that, they're going to get involved as well.
Exactly. I have loved our conversation. I know. 1111, Michael. We have 1111 people that are watching right now. That's a sign from God. I'll tell you what I call that. That is Hebrews 11:11. I call it the Sarah effect. When Sarah had a baby, she was 100 years old, and Moses was too. And people think that God just made her womb young. That's like the God of the partial. He made her drop dead gorgeous. And so he reversed her age all the way back to when she was 20, childbearing, Abraham too. I call that the Sarah effect. I believe that's where we're heading. I believe we're heading toward, we do have these bumps in the road. Granted, they're going to be very difficult, but it's like you said, we know better now. We have survived something amazing together in 2020. Many of us have come out of that. We're here today, and we can together do this moving forward. More people are awake, more people are aware. And it's like the Sarah effect. It's we have God on our side, and we'll win, but we do need to do this together.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we will. We're going to, because there's people like us helping keep people informed and bring the truth. So it is going to happen.
That's right. And as we close, so how can people follow you? How can they learn more?
MichaelKJaco.com and on LifeWave, Michael Jaco. Get those patches. Of course, you have your own. So I would say, because Lynn is the best performer in my team right now, she's like crushing it. Please sign up with her, because she is more focused on helping people. I'm building the bigger business. So you can sign up with me, and a lot of times I will put you with people like Lynn. So it's up to you. But yeah, I would recommend get with Lynn, and she's fantastic. She's growing an amazing business. I'm so proud of you in a lot of different ways. All the things that I recommended, you've done, and look at you. You're just like blowing up. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
Thank you. You are an incredible leader on many levels, but in LifeWave too, as is Tracy Joe, friends and leaders and mentors, and I love it all. And yes, I'm happy to take care of your folks. I know you asked me to a lot. And if people listening go to Live Younger with Lynn, LYNNE.com, glad to answer your questions, glad to get you started, glad to provide that personalized service for you for Michael and for Tracy Joe. So So thank you again so much for being on. Looking forward to next month for everybody listening. Until next time, this is the Lynn Scott Hagerman podcast, where truth is rising and so are we. Praise God.
Praise God.
Light breaks the shadow of the weary heart. Truth cuts the dark like a flaming dart. Voices rising strong to lift the call.